My wife told 43 people at our Christmas party that she wanted an open marriage, while I was standing right there holding our daughter's drawing of our happy family. I counted them, 43 witnesses. I know because I was watching their faces when Claire raised her champagne glass and made the announcement that was supposed to destroy me. The drawing was still warm in my hand. Sophie had given it to me 20 minutes earlier. Purple crayon stick figures labeled Mommy, Daddy, me, and Jake in her careful 8-year-old handwriting. The construction paper was already curling at the edges from where she'd pressed too hard, making sure we all looked happy. Claire's voice cut through the Christmas music. I have an announcement. Michael and I have decided to explore an open marriage. We're evolved enough to understand that monogamy is a social construct, and frankly, she paused, made eye contact with me across our living room full of neighbors, co-workers, her book club friends. Frankly, we both deserve to be happy. The room didn't go quiet. That would have been mercy. Instead, I heard the sharp intake of breath, the clink of glasses stopping mid-sip, the rustle of 43 people trying to figure out where to look. Some stared at me, some stared at their shoes. Claire's friend Jennifer actually smiled, like this was progressive and brave. I felt my hand tighten on Sophie's drawing. The paper crinkled. We both agreed to this, Claire continued, her voice bright and confident. Communication is everything in a modern marriage, right, Michael? I didn't answer. I was watching Emma Thompson, my co-worker from the architecture firm, standing near the kitchen doorway with her untouched glass of wine. She wasn't looking at Claire, she was looking at me, and her expression wasn't pity, it was recognition. The party moved on. People talked in hushed clusters. A few brave souls approached Claire to congratulate her on being so honest and emotionally mature. No one came to me. They wouldn't know what to say. What do you say to a man whose wife just announced to the world that he isn't enough? I stood there for exactly 90 seconds. I counted, and then I walked to the kitchen. I needed to put Sophie's drawing somewhere safe before I crumpled it completely. But then Emma did something no one expected. She smiled at me, not with pity, but with something that looked like interest. Emma followed me into the kitchen. The party noise was muffled behind us. Laughter, that damn Christmas music. Claire's voice explaining something about boundaries and freedom to someone who asked. That was quite a speech, Emma said quietly. I set Sophie's drawing on the counter, smoothing out the wrinkles I'd made. Yeah, well, communication is everything apparently. Funny thing about that announcement. Emma stepped closer, her voice low enough that only I could hear. I was watching the room. Do you know who looked most surprised? I didn't answer. My throat felt tight. You, she said, only you. I looked at her then, really looked. Emma Thompson. We'd worked together for 3 years. Quiet, precise, brilliant with structural design. I'd always thought she was attractive in an understated way. Dark hair usually pulled back, glasses she pushed up when she was concentrating, the kind of person who listened more than she spoke. Michael. She touched my arm lightly. I've been to your house for firm dinners. I've seen how Claire talks to you, and I just watched her humiliate you in front of everyone you know. She paused. That wasn't a conversation between equals. That was an execution. I started, but she cut me off. I'm not here to offer pity. I'm here because... She pulled a business card from her purse, the kind with embossed letters that architects favor. Thick cardstock, professional, but she turned it over and I saw handwriting on the back. Her handwriting in precise architectural print. She pressed it into my palm. Read it later when you're alone. Then she left through the kitchen door, not saying goodbye to anyone, not even grabbing her coat from the rack. I waited until I heard her car start before I turned the card over. She wanted witnesses. Let's give her something to actually worry about. The party ended around midnight. People filtered out with awkward hugs and carefully worded goodbyes. Let us know if you need anything. You're so brave for being honest. That last one was to Claire, not me. After everyone left, Claire went straight upstairs without a word. I heard the bedroom door close. Lock. I stood in our living room, now just our living room, not a party space, and looked at the mess. Red plastic cups, cocktail napkins, a broken ornament someone had knocked off the tree, and on the coffee table, half hidden under a stack of paper plates, I found it. The guest list. I almost threw it away. Would have, except I noticed the handwriting in the margins. Claire's handwriting. Pink pen. I sat down on the couch and started reading. Next to Jennifer's name, "Will spread this everywhere." A check mark. Next to our neighbor Tom, "Good humiliation witness." Another check. Next to my sister Beth's name, "Will try to defend him. Ignore." And next to Emma Thompson's name in capital letters and underlined twice, "Will never bite." My hands started shaking. This wasn't a spontaneous announcement. This wasn't Claire's brave moment of honesty. This was planned, calculated. She'd annotated our guest list like she was casting a play where I was the villain, or the victim. I pulled out my phone and called Beth. It rang 4 times before she answered, voice rough with sleep. "Michael? It's almost 1 a.m. "She planned it," I said, the announcement. She had a list, Beth. She chose who to invite based on who would. I couldn't finish the sentence. Based on who would what? Humiliate me most effectively. Silence on the other end. Then, "Where are you right now?" "Home? Living room. She's upstairs." "I'm coming over." "No, don't. I'm coming over. Do not go upstairs. Do not confront her tonight. Just sit tight. 15 minutes. She hung up. I looked at the guest list again, ran my finger down to Emma's name. "Will never bite." Claire had been so sure, so confident that none of her witnesses would actually respond to her open marriage proposal. But Emma had smiled at me, had given me her card, had seen through everything. Next to Emma's name, Claire had written 3 words that she probably thought were insurance. "Will never bite." Beth arrived in 14 minutes, still in her pajamas with a winter coat thrown over them. She let herself in with her emergency key, took one look at me sitting on the couch with the guest list and said, "Show me." I handed it to her. She read it in silence. Her jaw got tighter with each name. When she finished, she sat down next to me and said very quietly, "This is sociopathic behavior, Michael. You know that, right?" "I know she wanted to humiliate me." "No." Beth shook her head. "She wanted to control you. There's a difference. Humiliation would have been private. This," she gestured at the list, "this was about making sure you had nowhere to go, no one to turn to, because everyone saw you stand there and take it." I hadn't thought of it that way. "Except," Beth continued, looking at the list again, "she made one mistake." Emma. Beth smiled grimly. "Who is this woman? And why did Claire think she'd never bite?" I pulled Emma's card out of my pocket, showed Beth the message on the back. Beth read it twice. Then she looked at me with something that might have been hope. "Call her. It's 1 a.m. Then text her, or meet her for coffee tomorrow. Because Michael," she grabbed my hand, "Claire just gave you permission to move on. And for some reason, this Emma person sees what's really happening." I looked at Sophie's drawing, still on the coffee table where I'd left it, the purple crayon family, all of us smiling. "What if Emma's wrong?" I said quietly. "What if I'm overreacting?" Beth squeezed my hand harder. "The guest list has annotations, Michael, about who would be the best humiliation witnesses. You're not overreacting. You're finally seeing clearly." I texted Emma at 1:47 a.m. "Coffee tomorrow?" She replied in less than a minute. 9 a.m. Brewster's on Main. I'll be the one who already knows you didn't agree to anything." I didn't sleep that night. Around 4 a.m. I heard Claire get up, use the bathroom, and go back to bed. The lock clicked again. At 6 a.m., I checked on the kids. Sophie and Jake were still asleep at Beth's house. She'd taken them for a sleepover before the party, thank God. They hadn't seen the announcement, hadn't watched their mother dismantle their father in front of everyone they knew. At 8:45 a.m., I drove to Brewster's. Emma was already there, sitting in a booth by the window with 2 coffees in front of her. "I ordered yours," she said as I sat down. "Black, 1 sugar. You always order it that way at firm meetings." "You noticed." "I notice a lot of things." She pushed one of the coffees toward me, like how Claire spent the entire party watching you, not enjoying herself, not mingling, watching, waiting to see if you'd react. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. I found the guest list. She had notes about who would spread it, who would defend me, who would never bite, Emma finished. "She wrote that next to my name, didn't she?" I stared at her. "How did you—" "Because I'm exactly the kind of person a woman like Claire would underestimate. Quiet, professional, non-threatening." Emma smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. She thought I'd be too polite to actually respond to her open marriage announcement, too aware of workplace boundaries, too careful about social reputation. "And you're not?" "Oh, I'm all of those things." Emma leaned forward. "But I'm also someone who watched you design a community center for underprivileged kids and refused to cut corners even when the budget was tight. I'm someone who saw you leave work early every Tuesday for soccer games. I'm someone who noticed that your wife never once came to firm events unless there was something in it for her." The coffee shop was starting to fill up. Morning regulars, people getting breakfast before work. Normal Tuesday morning. Except nothing about this morning was normal. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out a worn leather journal, the kind architects use for sketching. The corners were bent, the pages dog-eared from years of use. "My ex-husband did something similar," she said softly. "Not the open marriage thing, but the public humiliation, the calculated cruelty. He announced our divorce at my father's funeral reception, said he'd been waiting for the right moment to tell everyone." "Jesus, Emma." I stayed quiet, played along, let him control the narrative because I was too shocked to fight back. She looked up at me, and I spent 2 years regretting it, wishing I'd stood up, wishing someone had stood up for me. "So, you're standing up for me." "I'm standing with you," she corrected, "if you want me to. But Michael, you need to understand something." She reached across the table, didn't quite touch my hand, but the intention was there. This isn't going to be easy. When you push back against someone like Claire, when you don't perform the role she assigned you, she's going to escalate. She's going to get vicious. She already got vicious. "No." Emma shook her head. "She showed you what she wanted other people to see. The vicious part comes when she realizes her plan isn't working." My phone buzzed. A text from Claire. "Where are you?" Emma glanced at my screen. Her phone buzzed too. She looked at it and her face went pale. "What?" She turned her phone toward me. A Facebook friend request from Claire, and below it, a message. "Hi Emma, so glad you could make it to our party. Michael mentioned you might be interested in exploring new connections. Let's grab coffee, just us girls. I'd love to get to know you better." Emma's hand was shaking slightly as she set the phone down. "She's already starting," I said. "She's terrified," Emma corrected, "because I smiled at you instead of pitying you, because I didn't play my assigned role." She looked at me directly. "What do you want to do, Michael?" What did I want? I wanted to rewind to yesterday morning when my biggest problem was a tight deadline at work. I wanted Sophie's drawing to actually be true, a happy family, all of us smiling, but that wasn't real. Maybe it never had been. "I want to know the truth," I said finally, "about why she really did this, about what she's actually planning." Emma nodded slowly. Then she pulled out her phone and typed something, showed me the screen. A response to Claire's message, not yet sent. Thanks for the invite, Claire. I'd love to grab coffee. How about Thursday? You're going to meet with her? I'm going to let her think she can control this situation. Emma's smile was sharp. And while she's focused on managing me, you're going to figure out what she's really after. She hit send. My phone buzzed again. Claire, Michael, seriously, where are you? I typed back, getting coffee, needed to think. Her response came in seconds. With who? I showed Emma. She whispered, don't answer yet. Make her wait. We sat there for another 20 minutes talking about architecture, about the weather, about anything except the bomb that had gone off in my life last night. And the whole time my phone kept buzzing. Claire getting more insistent with each message. Finally, Emma said, you should go home. Face her. But Michael... She reached into her bag and pulled out a small digital recorder, the kind journalists use. My lawyer made me carry this during my divorce, just in case. You might want to consider it. Record her? Record the truth, Emma said, because whatever Claire tells you today, I guarantee it won't match what she told those 43 people last night. I took the recorder, slipped it into my jacket pocket. As I stood to leave, Emma grabbed my wrist. One more thing, check your bank accounts, check your credit cards, check anything financial that has both your names on it. Why? Because people who plan public humiliations like that, they've usually planned a lot more than just the humiliation. I walked to my car feeling like I just stepped off a cliff, but for the first time since Claire had raised that champagne glass, I wasn't falling alone. Emma had given me her card with that note. Let's give her something to actually worry about. I drove home with Emma's recorder in my pocket and her warning echoing in my head. Check your bank accounts, check anything financial. Claire was waiting in the kitchen when I walked in, still in her silk pajamas, the expensive ones she'd bought for special occasions. Her laptop was open on the counter and she closed it quickly when she saw me. Where were you? Her voice was light, casual, like she hadn't detonated my life 12 hours ago. Coffee. With who? I set my keys on the counter right next to where Sophie's drawing still lay, the purple crayon family. Does it matter? You said we're exploring an open marriage. Her expression flickered just for a second. I said we're evolved enough to understand. No. I cut her off. You said we'd agreed to this. You said we both deserve to be happy. In front of 43 people, Claire, without asking me first. I thought you'd appreciate the honesty, the transparency. You wanted witnesses. She went very still. What? I found the guest list, the one with your notes. Good humiliation witnesses. We'll spread this everywhere. I pulled it from my pocket, unfolded it on the counter. You planned this. You chose exactly who to invite based on who would maximize the damage. Claire looked at the list, at her own handwriting, and instead of shame or guilt, I saw something else cross her face. Panic. Michael, you're misunderstanding. Emma Thompson will never bite. You were so sure she'd never respond. So confident that all your witnesses would watch me stand there and take it. I stepped closer. But she smiled at me, Claire, and then she gave me her number. That bitch, Claire caught herself, smoothed her hair, reset her expression. Look, this isn't about Emma. This is about us, about being honest about what we want. What do you want? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I want freedom. I want to know that we chose each other, not that we're just stuck in a pattern. Freedom. I let the word hang there. That's interesting, because I checked our credit card statements this morning. You've been very free with our money lately. Her face went white. You had no right? I have every right. We have joint accounts, remember? Communication is everything in a modern marriage. I pulled up my phone, showed her the screenshots I'd taken. Hotel Meridian, Tuesday mornings for the past 6 months, same room, room 412. The silence in that kitchen was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Finally, Claire said, "You're spying on me." "I'm looking at receipts, Claire. Receipts you charged to our card. The card we use for groceries and school supplies and..." I had to stop. Breathe. 3 weeks after Sophie was born. That's when it started. November 14th. I remember because I was up all night with her. Colic. You said you needed to go to the gym to clear your head. "Michael?" "How long?" I asked. "How long have you been planning this?" She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the drawer by the refrigerator, the one where we kept important documents, and she pulled out our prenuptial agreement. She slammed it on the counter so hard Sophie's drawing jumped. "You remember what you signed?" Her voice was sharp now, raw. "If you cheat, I get everything. The house, the savings, custody, everything, Michael. But this..." She gestured wildly between us. "This was my idea, my proposal, which means if you're the one who acts on it, you're the one who violated our agreement." I stared at the prenup. At the blue cover I remembered signing 10 years ago, back when I thought prenups were just formalities, when I trusted that we'd never need to worry about the clauses inside. "So that's the play," I said quietly. "You announce an open marriage publicly. I'm humiliated. Maybe I turn to someone for comfort, say Emma Thompson, and then you file for divorce citing my adultery. You get everything, the kids, the house, everything." "That's not..." She stopped. "You're being paranoid." "Am I?" I picked up the prenup, started flipping through it. "Let me find that clause, the one you highlighted. Oh, here it is. Page 23, clause 7.3. Infidelity by husband results in 100% asset forfeiture and presumptive primary custody to wife." I looked up at her. "Did you highlight this before or after you started sleeping with someone at the Meridian?" Her hand shot out to grab the prenup, but I pulled it back. "I want to know who he is," I said, "or there is no..." "Claire, I have 6 months of receipts. I have the room number. I can call the hotel right now and ask who's been meeting you there every Tuesday morning, or you can tell me." She stood there breathing hard, her carefully constructed facade cracking like ice. "It doesn't matter who he is," she said finally, "because I proposed the open marriage first, which means you think you're protected." I nodded. "Smart. Announce it publicly with witnesses. Make sure everyone knows it was your idea. Then, if I'm the one who actually follows through, you can claim I'm the cheater." "This is ridiculous. I'm going upstairs." She tried to walk past me, but I stepped in front of her, not blocking, just present. "The kids come home tomorrow," I said quietly. "Beth's dropping them off after school, and we need to figure out what we're telling them." "We're not telling them anything. This is between adults." "You announced it to 43 people, Claire, including Jennifer, who's on the PTA with us. You think Sophie won't hear about it at school?" For the first time, real fear crossed her face. "You can't tell the children." "I won't have to. You already did." I walked past her up to my office and closed the door. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I called Emma. "How did it go?" She answered immediately. "Prenup trap. She's been planning this for months, maybe longer." I told her everything. The hotel receipts, the confrontation, Claire's panic when I mentioned the kids. "Michael, listen to me very carefully. Do not sleep with anyone. Do not even appear to be romantically involved with anyone until you have a lawyer." "I wasn't planning to..." "I know, but she's going to try to manufacture evidence if she can't get it naturally. Coffee with me? She'll try to make it look like an affair. Meeting with a lawyer? She'll say you're planning something vindictive." Emma paused. "I'm texting you the name of the lawyer who handled my divorce. Marcus Chen. He's expensive, but he's a shark. Call him today." "Emma, I can't ask you to..." "You're not asking. I'm offering, because I watched you stand in that living room holding your daughter's drawing while your wife destroyed you. And I'm not watching you lose everything because you were too decent to see the trap." After we hung up, I sat in my office for a long time, looking at Sophie's drawing. I'd brought it upstairs with me, smoothed it out on my desk. Maybe you know what it's like when someone actually listens. If you've ever felt invisible in your own life, just leave a comment. I see you. The next day, Beth dropped Sophie and Jake off at 3:30. I was waiting on the porch. Claire was supposedly at a hair appointment. Daddy! Jake ran straight into my arms, 5 years old, all energy and missing front teeth. Aunt Beth let us have ice cream for lunch. Did she now? I picked him up, felt his arms around my neck. Solid, real, mine. Sophie hung back, her backpack dragging on the ground. 8 years old, too observant, my quiet one. Hey, Ladybug, I said. How was the sleepover? She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, Mommy did something mean at the party, didn't she? Beth and I exchanged glances. What makes you say that? I asked carefully. Because you have that face, the one you get when Mommy says something that makes you sad, but you don't want to show it. Sophie set down her backpack. And because Emma from your work sent you a message and Mommy saw it and threw her phone. Christ, she'd seen more than I thought. Daddy's okay, I said. Come here. She came, but slowly, cautious. When she got close enough, she reached into her backpack and pulled out another drawing. This one was different from the party drawing. Same purple crayon, same stick figures. But in this picture, Mommy was far away from the rest of us, almost off the page. And next to the daddy figure, Sophie had drawn another figure, smaller, neat, with glasses. Nice lady, Sophie had labeled it. Sophie, my voice cracked. When did you draw this? Before the party, Daddy, because I knew Mommy was going to do something mean. Her little hand squeezed mine. But you're the one who stayed. I looked at Beth. She had tears in her eyes. Jake tugged on my shirt. Is Mommy being mean again? Jake, buddy, that's not... I started, but Sophie cut me off. It's okay, Daddy. You don't have to pretend for us. She looked so serious, so much older than 8. We know. Know what, Ladybug? That Mommy doesn't like us as much as she likes being right. Beth made a sound, half sob, half laugh. I knelt down so I was eye level with both kids. Listen to me, both of you. Whatever happens between Mommy and me, that's grown-up stuff. It's not your fault. It's not your job to fix. And you are both loved, so loved. Do you understand? Sophie nodded. But then she said, Daddy, if Mommy leaves, does the nice lady stay? What nice lady? She held up her drawing, the figure with glasses. Emma, she's nice. She doesn't try too hard. How did she know about Emma? We'd had coffee once. I'd been careful not to mention. I saw her at your office. Sophie explained, reading my confusion. Last month when we visited, she let me color in her blueprint. And she talked to me like I was a person, not a little kid. She looked at the drawing. People who try too hard are usually lying, but Emma didn't try at all. That's how you know. Beth whispered, She's not wrong. I looked at this drawing, my daughter's prediction, made before the party even happened. She'd known. Somehow she'd known her mother was planning something, and she'd already drawn the aftermath. Can we meet her? Sophie asked. Emma? I don't know if that's a good idea right now, Ladybug. Why not? Because things are complicated. Things are always complicated, Sophie said matter-of-factly. But she's already in the picture. See? She pointed to her drawing. She fits. That night, after the kids were asleep, I found Jake's Christmas list, the one he'd made for Santa. His handwriting was terrible. Backwards letters, phonetic spelling, the works of a kindergartner who was still learning. Dear Santa, it read, please make my daddy Smeal Egan. And can the nice lady from the park be my friend too? I sat on his bedroom floor holding that letter, and I didn't try to stop crying. They'd seen everything. Every moment I thought I'd hidden. Every smile I'd faked. Every time I'd pretended things were fine. And they'd been waiting, hoping for someone who would make their daddy smile. On Thursday, Emma had coffee with Claire. I'd tried to talk her out of it, but she'd been firm. She needs to think she has control. Let her have this meeting. While they were at coffee, I met with Marcus Chen. Marcus's office was downtown, 14th floor, view of the bay. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a handshake that said he didn't waste time. Emma called me, he said, gesturing to a chair. Told me the basics. Open marriage announcement, prenup trap, possible affair. What else do I need to know? I told him everything. The guest list, the hotel receipts, Claire's panic, the kids. Marcus listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he sat back and said, "She's good. I'll give her that. The public announcement protects her from adultery claims because she proposed it first. The prenup gives her leverage, and the witnesses ensure you can't claim coercion." So I'm screwed. No. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. You're married to someone who thinks she's smarter than she is, and people like that always make mistakes. He pulled out a folder. We're going to need documentation, everything. Bank statements, credit card receipts, emails, text messages, every single transaction, every communication. Can you get me that? Most of it, yeah. Good. I'm also going to recommend a private investigator just to confirm what we already suspect about the affair. He slid a business card across the desk. Her name's Patricia. She's discreet, she's thorough, and she's very good at getting hotel security footage. I took the card. How much is this going to cost? More than you want to spend, less than what Claire will take if we lose. Marcus leaned forward. Michael, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Is there any chance at all, that those children aren't biologically yours? The question hit me like a fist. No, I was there when they were born. But I stopped, because I'd been there when they were conceived too, or had I? Sophie was born 9 months and 2 weeks after our anniversary trip to Napa. I remembered because we joked about it, the wine country baby. But Claire had been distant that whole trip, picking fights, sleeping on the opposite side of the bed, and Jake. Jake was born 5 years ago, right around the time Claire had started going to that new gym, the one with the... Michael? Marcus's voice pulled me back. You still with me? The affair started 3 weeks after Sophie was born, I said slowly. That's what the hotel receipts say, but what if it started before? What if... We need to know, Marcus said gently. I know this is painful, but if there's any question about paternity, we need to address it now, before custody becomes an issue. They're my kids. My voice was too loud in that quiet office. I know they're my kids. Then we'll prove it. DNA test, simple, quick, definitive. Marcus's expression softened. Look, I've seen this play before. The doubt is worse than knowing. Trust me. I thought about Sophie's drawings, about Jake's letter to Santa, about the way they looked at me, trusted me, loved me. If I do this, I said, and they are mine, which they are, does Claire find out I questioned it? Not unless you want her to. Marcus closed his folder. But Michael, the fact that you're even asking this question tells me she's already planted that seed, whether she meant to or not, and that seed will grow if you don't uproot it now. I left Marcus's office with a DNA testing kit. 2 swabs for each kid results in 48 hours. Simple, quick, definitive, and completely terrifying. That same day, Patricia, the PI, sent her first report. I opened it in my car, sitting in the parking garage, and felt my world tilt again. Photographs, time-stamped. Claire's Lexus entering the Hotel Meridian parking garage. Claire in workout clothes, those expensive leggings, the fitted tank top. A man's hand on her lower back as they walked toward the elevator, his face visible in one shot. Devin Marshall, age 24. Personal trainer at Elite Fitness Gym, 24 years old. Sophie was 8. I did the math. Then I did it again, hoping I was wrong. Patricia's report was clinical. Subject meets with Mr. Marshall every Tuesday, 10 a.m., 12:30 p.m. Pattern consistent for past 6 months. Hotel staff confirms weekly reservations in subject's name. Room 412. Credit card on file matches documentation provided by client. And then at the bottom, addendum, manager's records show reservation history extends back further than 6 months. Will investigate additional time frame upon request. I called Patricia. How far back? Checking now, she said. I heard typing. Okay, sporadic reservations for past 3 years, then nothing. Then regular weekly schedule starting April of this year. But before that, hold on. More typing. First reservation under her name, November 14th, 9 years ago. November 14th. Does that date mean something? I closed my eyes. That's 3 weeks after my daughter was born. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Mr. Grant, I'm going to send you a comprehensive timeline. All reservations, all charges, everything I can find. You should share this with your attorney. The first hotel receipt, 3 weeks after Sophie's birth. Devin's age on the gym contract, 24. The photos stared up at me from my phone screen. Claire's face, smiling at this kid who was barely out of college. His hand on her back, familiar, comfortable, not new, not uncertain. This wasn't a midlife crisis. This wasn't a recent mistake. This was a pattern. Emma called that night. The coffee with Claire was enlightening. Tell me. She spent 90 minutes trying to figure out if you and I are sleeping together. She was subtle about it, asking about my relationship history, whether I'm dating anyone, if I've ever been attracted to married men. But that's what she wanted to know. What did you tell her? The truth. That I'm single, that I respect professional boundaries, and that I think what she did at the party took courage. Emma's voice was dry. She ate it up, told me all about her journey of sexual liberation and how you've been emotionally unavailable for years. I've been emotionally unavailable. According to her, yes, also controlling, passive-aggressive, and this is my favorite, threatened by successful women. Emma paused. She's building a narrative, Michael, one where you're the villain and she's the victim who finally found her voice. Did she mention Devin? Silence. Then, who's Devin? I told her, the PI report, the timeline, 24 years old. Oh my God, Emma whispered. Michael, that's... I know. You need to... I know. Marcus already has the documentation. I looked at the DNA kit sitting on my passenger seat. Emma, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Anything. Sophie and Jake, do they look like me? Another pause, longer this time. Michael, where is this coming from? Just, please, do they look like me? Sophie has your eyes, your nose, that serious expression you get when you're concentrating. Emma's voice was gentle. And Jake is basically your clone with better hair. Why are you asking? I told her about Marcus's question, about the doubt that had been planted. Don't let her do this to you, Emma said fiercely. Don't let her make you question what you know. Those kids are yours. Anyone who's seen you together knows that. I'm getting a DNA test anyway. Good. Get the test. Prove it. Remove that weapon from her arsenal. Emma took a breath. Michael, I'm coming over. You don't have to... I'm coming over. You shouldn't be alone right now. And before you argue, it's not romantic. It's not a date. It's just showing up. The way people should show up for each other. She arrived 20 minutes later. We sat in my car in the driveway, neutral territory, where Claire couldn't see us from the house. And Emma told me about her divorce, about the funeral announcement, about how her ex-husband had systematically isolated her from friends and family before destroying her publicly. I didn't fight back, she said. I let him control the story, and I lost 2 years of my life trying to rebuild what he'd torn down. She looked at me. You're fighting back. That's the difference. That's why you're going to be okay. I don't feel okay. You're not supposed to, not yet. She pulled out her journal, that worn leather book she'd shown me at the coffee shop. But you will be. Here. She'd sketched something, a building, simple, clean lines, lots of windows, 4 bedrooms, an art studio, a treehouse. What is this? Hope, Emma said simply. A reminder that things can be built, not just torn down. I looked at the sketch, at the careful labels. S's room, J's room, space for a family. 2 paths here. Build walls to protect what's left, or trust that someone new might actually be real. What would you do? That night, after everyone was asleep, I collected the DNA samples. Sophie first. A gentle swab inside her cheek while she slept. She didn't even wake up. Then Jake. He stirred a little, mumbled something about dinosaurs, and rolled over. I stood in their rooms for a long time, looking at them. Sophie with her stuffed elephant. Jake with his blanket twisted around his legs. Mine. They were mine. I knew it in my bones, but I couldn't look at their baby photos without shaking. The lab tech sealed the envelope the next morning. Results in 48 hours, she said. Professional, clinical, like this was routine. To her, maybe it was. To me, it was everything. 48 hours is a long time when you're waiting for DNA results that will either confirm your entire life or destroy it. I went to work, came home, made dinner, helped with homework, tucked the kids in, normal things. While my phone sat on the counter, waiting for the call that would change everything. Claire was distant, careful. She'd noticed something had shifted, but she couldn't quite figure out what. On the second evening, she cornered me in the kitchen. You've been strange, she said, distracted. I've got a lot on my mind. Is it Emma? Her voice had an edge. Because I had coffee with her. She seems nice, very available. I didn't take the bait. How's Devin? Her face went blank. Who? Devin Marshall, 24, personal trainer, room 412 at the Hotel Meridian, every Tuesday for 6 months. I pulled out my phone, showed her one of Patricia's photos. Should I keep going, or do you want to tell me yourself? Claire grabbed for the phone, but I pulled it back. That's illegal, she hissed. You can't spy on me. I didn't spy. I hired someone to document your public movements. There's a difference. I pocketed the phone. But here's what I find interesting. Those receipts on our credit card, they only go back 6 months, which means you got sloppy. Started getting comfortable. This is insane. You're being paranoid. Patricia found the older reservations, the ones you paid cash for. November 14th, 9 years ago, that was the first one. I watched her face carefully. 3 weeks after Sophie was born. The color drained from her face. Michael, is she mine? What? Of course, she's... Claire's voice was shrill now. How dare you question... Is Jake mine? You're sick. You're actually sick. She was backing away from me. This is what you do. You hire private investigators. You question your own children. Answer the question, Claire. They're your children, both of them. And the fact that you would even... She stopped, regrouped. This is exactly why I wanted an open marriage. Because you're controlling, possessive. You can't handle that I have a life outside of you. You've been sleeping with someone for 9 years. I haven't. The timeline doesn't... She caught herself. This is entrapment. You're trying to make me say something that isn't true. My phone rang. Unknown number. I looked at the screen, then at Claire. I need to take this, I said. I walked out of the kitchen into my office, closed the door. My hand was shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Mr. Grant, this is Dr. Reeves from the DNA testing facility. I have your results. I sat down, couldn't speak. Mr. Grant, are you there? I'm here. The results are conclusive. For Sophie Grant, probability of paternity, 99.99%. For Jake Grant, Probability of paternity 99.99%. She paused. Both children are biologically yours, Mr. Grant. Unambiguous results. I sat in the parking lot of the DNA lab for 20 minutes holding those papers, and when Marcus found me, I was still crying. Michael? He knocked on the car window. You okay? I couldn't answer, just handed him the results through the window. He read them, nodded. Good, this is good. Now we go to war. The mediation was scheduled for the following Thursday. Marcus had been clear. Bring nothing. Say nothing unless I tell you to. Let the evidence speak. Claire walked in with her lawyer, a woman named Diane Fletcher, who had a reputation for destroying husbands in divorce court. Claire looked confident, powerful. She was wearing her best suit, the one she wore when she wanted to intimidate. Marcus waited until everyone was seated. Then he opened his briefcase and pulled out a 3-inch binder. Evidence, he said simply. Shall we begin? The mediator, a tired-looking woman named Mrs. Patterson, opened her notebook. This is an informal mediation to discuss the Grant's marital situation and potential custody arrangements. Mrs. Grant has filed preliminary paperwork citing irreconcilable differences and requesting primary custody of the minor children. Based on what grounds? Marcus asked. Diane Fletcher smiled. Based on Mr. Grant's infidelity, my client proposed an open marriage in good faith, seeking to save their relationship through honest communication. Mr. Grant responded by pursuing a relationship with a coworker, violating the terms of their prenuptial agreement. Marcus didn't even blink. That's an interesting theory. Let's examine it. He pulled out the first document. Guest list from the December 17th party where Mrs. Grant made her announcement. These are Mrs. Grant's handwritten notes in the margins. He slid it across to the mediator. Mrs. Patterson read it, and her expression changed. Good humiliation witnesses? She read aloud. Mrs. Grant, can you explain this note? Claire's confidence flickered. I wanted people there who would support us. We'll spread this everywhere, Mrs. Patterson continued. That doesn't sound like someone seeking support. That sounds like someone managing a message. Marcus pulled out another document. Credit card statements, Hotel Meridian, weekly charges, same day, same time, 6 months of documentation. He looked at Diane. Would you like to explain how Mrs. Grant was having a 6-month affair while simultaneously proposing an open marriage in good faith? Diane leaned over, whispered something to Claire. Claire shook her head. There's more, Marcus said. He was enjoying this. Bank statements showing systematic asset transfers to an LLC in Mrs. Grant's name. A signed lease for a 2-bedroom apartment dated October 3rd, 2 months before the open marriage announcement. The lease lists 2 tenants, Claire Grant and Devin Marshall. He slid each document across the table like he was dealing cards. Text messages between Mrs. Grant and Mr. Marshall discussing their exit strategy. Emails to her mother outlining how she planned to get everything in the divorce. And he pulled out the final document. A private investigator's report with time-stamped photographs documenting Mrs. Grant's affair, including dates that predate the so-called open marriage proposal by years. The room was silent. Mrs. Patterson looked at Claire. Mrs. Grant, do you have a response to any of this? Claire's face had gone from confident to pale to desperate. He's twisting everything. The apartment it was just in case things didn't work out. The affair, there is no affair. Those photos are time-stamped and verified by hotel security. Marcus interrupted. Would you like me to call Mr. Marshall as a witness because he's prepared to testify? No. Claire's voice was small. No, that's not necessary. Diane Fletcher stood up, leaned down to whisper to Claire. Their conversation was urgent, hushed. Claire kept shaking her head, but Diane's expression was firm. Finally, Diane straightened. My client would like to propose a settlement. I'm listening, Marcus said. Mrs. Grant withdraws all claims regarding Mr. Grant's alleged infidelity. She agrees to joint custody with Mr. Grant as primary custodial parent. She requests no spousal support, but asks for a fair division of assets acquired during the marriage. Marcus looked at me. I nodded. Agreed, Marcus said, with one modification. Mrs. Grant agrees not to contest the prenuptial agreement's infidelity clause, which means she forfeits her claim to marital assets beyond what she brought into the marriage. Claire made a sound, half gasp, half sob. That's... Diane started, but Marcus cut her off. That's exactly what the prenup says. Clause 7.3. Infidelity by either party results in asset forfeiture. She wanted to use it against my client. Now it applies to her. He closed the binder. Take it or we go to court. And trust me, Ms. Fletcher, you don't want your client's affair timeline made public. November 14th, 9 years ago, 3 weeks after her daughter's birth, that's not a good look. Diane whispered to Claire again. This time Claire just nodded, defeated. My client accepts the terms, Diane said quietly. Mrs. Patterson was writing everything down, her pen scratching across the legal pad. When she finished, she looked up. Mr. Grant will have primary custody. Mrs. Grant will have supervised visitation pending a psychological evaluation. Assets will be divided according to the prenuptial agreement. Is this acceptable to both parties? Yes, Marcus said. Claire didn't say anything. She just sat there, staring at the table, her careful plan demolished by her own evidence. If you think that evidence, not drama, just facts, is the most powerful revenge, leave the word evidence in the comments. Marcus leaned across the table. One more thing, Mrs. Grant will attend co-parenting counseling, and she will not disparage Mr. Grant to the children or in any public forum. Violation of these terms results in further limitation of custody. Agreed? Diane looked at Claire. Claire nodded. Agreed, Diane said. The mediation was over. Claire's lawyer stood up. My client would like a moment. No, Marcus said. We're done here. Mrs. Grant can communicate through you from now on. As we walked out, I looked back once. Claire was still sitting there, Diane beside her, both of them surrounded by evidence of everything Claire had planned so carefully. Marcus put a hand on my shoulder. Sometimes justice is quieter than we expect, he said. No dramatic speeches, no revenge, just truth. That night I met Emma at Brewster's. Same booth we'd sat in that first morning, same coffee, same window seat, but everything was different. So, she said when I sat down, how are you? Custody, primary, she gets supervised visitation. I wrapped my hands around the coffee cup. It's over, Emma. The whole thing. It's just over. How do you feel? Tired, relieved, angry, grateful. I looked at her, confused. About you, about this, about what happens now. I set down my coffee. Emma, you showed up. At the worst possible moment in my life, you saw what was happening and you showed up. And I don't know if that's because you're an incredibly good person or because what? Because you feel something for me, for this situation, I stopped. I can't ask you that. Not now. Not when everything's still so messy. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out her journal, the worn leather one. She opened it to a page I hadn't seen before. It was a sketch of a house, detailed, architectural, 4 bedrooms, an art studio, a treehouse in the backyard with a rope swing. Each room was labeled. S's room with windows facing east for morning light. J's room with built-in shelves for books. A master suite with space for 2. And that studio, E's studio. It said in small print. I drew this 3 days after the party, Emma said quietly. Before the coffee with Claire, before the DNA test, before the mediation. I drew this knowing everything could fall apart. knowing you might not want this, knowing I might be setting myself up for heartbreak. Emma, I'm not finished. She looked up at me. My ex-husband destroyed me publicly because he could, because I was convenient and available, and he knew I wouldn't fight back. And I spent 2 years telling myself I'd never be that vulnerable again. I'd never give someone that kind of power. She slid the journal across to me. But then I watched you hold your daughter's drawing while your wife humiliated you, and I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Someone who stayed, someone who put his kids first, someone who was kind even when kindness cost him everything. She touched the edge of the journal. I don't do anything halfway, Michael. I don't sketch houses I don't intend to build. I don't show up for people I'm not willing to stay for. I looked at the drawing. 4 bedrooms, a family, space for art and children and life. Are you ready for that? Emma asked. I thought about Sophie's prediction drawing, about Jake's letter to Santa, about 2 years of Claire's systematic betrayal, and one moment when Emma smiled at me like she could see the person I actually was. What if I mess this up? I said. What if I'm too broken right now? What if the kids already love me, Emma said gently. Sophie told me yesterday. She called me from Beth's phone to tell me about a building she saw and wanted my opinion on the architecture. We talked for 40 minutes about buildings, about purple crayon, about how sometimes families aren't the ones you're born into. I was crying before I could answer. Emma reached across the table and took my hand. You're not broken, Michael. You're healing. There's a difference. 6 months later, I was watching Sophie and Jake play in Emma's backyard, our backyard now, when my phone buzzed. A letter from Claire. I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. Michael, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know I'm getting help. Real help. Therapy. Medication. I'm starting to understand how much I hurt you, how much I hurt everyone. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm trying, and that I'm grateful the kids have you, have Emma. They need stability. They need love. They need what I couldn't give them. See. I showed Emma. She read it, handed the phone back. How do you feel? She asked. I don't know. She's trying. That's something. It is something. Emma watched Sophie teaching Jake how to draw blueprints with chalk on the patio. But it doesn't change what she did or what you've built since. That night, Sophie came to me with both of her drawings, the happy family from the Christmas party, and the prediction drawing with Mommy far away and the nice lady. Can we frame these? She asked, in both of them. Why both? Because the first one shows what I hoped for, and the second one shows what actually happened. She looked up at me with those serious eyes. And they're both important, the hope and the real. So we framed them, hung them side by side in the living room. The purple crayon family, wrong but hopeful, and the prediction, right but sad. Until Emma added something. She took a piece of Sophie's construction paper, drew 4 new stick figures in purple crayon to match Sophie's style. All of us, smiling, actually happy this time. Third panel, she said, handing it to Sophie, for what comes next. 1 year after the Christmas party, we had another gathering, smaller this time, Beth and her family. Marcus, who'd become a friend somehow through all of this, Emma's parents, a few close friends from work. Sophie hung her new drawing next to the other 2, 3 panels now, past, transition, present. See, Dad? She said, stepping back to look at them. I was right. We just needed the right mommy. Jake climbed into Emma's lap without asking, like he'd done it 1,000 times. Because he had. Every morning at breakfast, every evening watching cartoons, every time he needed someone to explain why dinosaurs were so cool. Emma squeezed my hand. Your turn, she whispered. Tell me about your found family. Who showed up when it mattered? I looked around the room. Beth, who'd driven over at 1 a.m. with no questions. Marcus, who'd fought for truth instead of victory. Emma's parents, who'd welcome me and my baggage without hesitation. Sophie and Jake, who'd been wiser than any 8-year-old and 5-year-old should have to be. And Emma, who'd smiled at me when everyone else looked away. All of you? I said. You all showed up. Sophie tugged on my sleeve. Dad, tell them the rule of 3. The what? The thing you told me and Jake about Mommy. She looked at the 3 drawings on the wall. About how there was no accident, no mistake, just choices. And then about how we chose too. I looked at Emma. She smiled. No repair, I said quietly, understanding what Sophie meant. No second chance with someone who planned your destruction. Just truth. Just choosing the people who choose you back. Claire sends cards on birthdays now, from 3 states away, with someone else's return address. The kids see her twice a year, supervised visits that they attend dutifully but don't particularly enjoy. She's getting better, I think. Trying, at least. But she's not their mom anymore. Not in the way that matters. Emma is. Emma, who showed up, who saw through Claire's performance, who chose us when we were messy and broken and uncertain, who sketched a 4-bedroom house and then helped us build it. Sophie was right about the drawings. All 3 of them matter. The hope, the hard truth, and the happiness that came after. We don't leave the people who show up when everything's falling apart. We don't leave the ones who see us, really see us, and stay anyway. We don't leave family, whether it's the one we're born into or the one we build from courage and coffee and purple crayon drawings. Turns out when you call someone's bluff about breaking the rules, sometimes you don't just survive. Sometimes you build something better than what broke. Your turn. Tell me about your found family, the people who showed up when biology or history or expectation didn't. Who's your Emma? Who's your Sophie with the wise drawings? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone.